Hello, juniors. I just wanted to walk you through a few things that will help you find the right news article for what you're looking for. So the first thing I want you to do is, in order to get to the databases, the very best way to do that is to just put a period or anything in that little search box on the home page at the library and click search. And that will bring you to this landing page that allows you to cross-search all of the databases. But I actually don't want you to use the search function here for now. What I want you to do instead is go to the right-hand side where it says National Newspapers in the alphabetized list of databases. National Newspapers allows you to cross-search 6 newspapers: the Washington Post, the Christian Science Monitor, the Hartford Courant, the New York Times, the Boston Globe, and the Wall Street Journal. And you can cross-search all of those publications in there. Before you get started, I do want to just sort of review something we've hopefully covered before, and that is Boolean Logic. You'll notice our little ghost down there. His name is Boo Leon. That's not how you spell it. It's Boolean. And it's named after a mathematician who came up with this. The word or, and, or not must be all caps. That's important. That is part of the computer command. So it tells the computer to look for, in this case, if you're using the word or, all the articles that have the word fries, plus all of the articles that have the word burger. So you can see both circles are fully shaded in. If you change that or in the middle to the word and, this is what happens. You reduce the number of results, but you have very specific results. It's a really different exercise. So it's important that you keep that in mind, that you understand that the word is and or not, and it must be all caps. Now, you can also choose not, which has, you'll see today, I have an example of where that comes in handy. So sometimes you want one word, but definitely not another word, and this is a way to accomplish that. The order of operations actually does work in searching in the databases. So you'll see that what I've done here is we've put a parentheses around a set of words that will say either silicon or tech or venture, right? Those are contained. We want those ors to only apply to those 3 words. But then if you look lower to the left, you'll see that and is still in use. So we don't want to confuse the database by using ors and ands without specifying which words they apply to. When selecting search terms, avoid using coded language. When we ask you to refine your research question, be very specific. Articulate what you really mean. Narrow your focus. Make your task measurable. To find insightful articles about the impact of systemic racism, use the language that authors who write insightfully on the topic use. This article by Ta-Nehisi Coates is about 5 years old, but it is still referenced in current books and articles with impressive frequency. Ibram Kendi, the subject of this article and the author of How to Be an Anti-Racist, explains that terms such as inner city and third world racialize space, and that this in turn justifies resource inequity. Choose language that will produce original, well-researched, and insightful results. In her New York Times bestselling book, White Fragility, Robin DiAngelo says that coded language can obfuscate honest examination of racism and white privilege. Use language that will lead you to authors and publications who address how these constructs impact social class in America. Remember to keep track of your sources as you go. Create full citations for each source. Many database links stop working after you log out. Authors and publications rely on style manuals to help them use proper verbiage. The Associated Press released new guidelines this year that address heritage. The hyphen is no longer used to link heritage groups such as African American or Asian American. There are guidelines on the use of the word black or white, not as nouns and not in the plural form, but okay to use as adjectives. Latinx is preferred because it is gender neutral. According to the Associated Press, you should stick with the terms American Indians or Native Americans. Avoid using euphemisms in lieu of racist or racism. Kendi explains why this is important in his book on page 45 to 47. These guidelines are important to student researchers because they determine the language that editors are going to sign off on in the media. In other words, these are the keywords that will produce results. So this is what it looks like in a database, all right? We've taken out any instances of African American with a hyphen because we're not writing about that anymore. Having said that, if you're looking at an article from 2014, it's possible that African American is hyphenated because that wasn't the style guideline back then. So if you're looking for newer articles, this is one way to keep your articles very current, is to not have that hyphen in there. Now remember, we've talked about orders of operation, and they're all parenthetically contained. Here we have a search for Indigenous Americans, and you can see how we have asterisks within the quotes, and that's going to help us. I think I have this here. That's going to help us look for both the singular and the plural in those instances. So you can see that Native American with an asterisk inside the quote is looking for Native American and Native Americans. Now, you might be asking, what do the quotes do? These quotes are super important because what they're doing is they're making sure that those two words are side by side in that order in all your searches. And you have them again here. So let's talk about some other features that we have for searching. You'll see if you click on the little carrots, the up-down carrots, next to your search terms, you have a lot of choices. And you might be thinking, oh, I don't know what all that mumbo jumbo is, so I'm not going to use any of it. Well, that would be a mistake because those are very important. Another word for abstract is a summary, only the language is chosen very carefully to represent the main points of the article. Subjects are pretty tricky business. Main subjects is basically language approved and selected by the Library of Congress, so you need to use the words that they use. And I'll show you a little trick about, well, I don't know what the Library of Congress calls cars. Well, I'm going to show you how to find out. So you would not say cars or autos or motor cars. What you would say if you were going to choose a subject would be automobiles. And a company or organization, for example, Facebook, location would be a place. So Houston, Texas, or China. A person would be somebody you were writing about, so let's say Toni Morrison. An author could be Andrew Marantz. And back in the day, we had to do that last name first and first name last, but that doesn't seem to hold true anymore. Document text, which is very different from document title. The keyword shows up anywhere in the document. It could be just a random passing instance where it doesn't have anything to do with the article. Whereas if it's in the title, chances are the article is about that. People are very careful about composing their titles to make sure that they represent what is in the contents of the article. And a publication title is really important. Now, you could be Googling around and, oh, I found this great article on the Wall Street Journal, and bam, it's behind a paywall and I can't access it and they want me to subscribe and I don't want to subscribe, so it's okay. Just come to the database called National Newspapers and type that in as a publication title and you will be able to find that article with no trouble. All right, so I talked about subjects. Subjects can be really, really helpful in terms of narrowing the search to make sure that you have the most relevant searches. So this only applies if you have a really big subject. School is a very big subject. So if you click on subject heading, this little look up subjects will appear right under it. And if you go through the options that they have, you can choose begins with or contains. So if you have a subject like school, you can see that's super important that you're going to have it just start with, because otherwise it would be overwhelming. You have hundreds of examples to choose of terms to choose from. So in this case, you can choose not only one, but you can choose multiples, and then and then it will basically feed them into that search field. And so your search term will include education or schools. So we'll see that again in a few minutes. Once you've chosen multiple from subject headings, you'll see where it says in the second row, exact, education, or schools. That's because I selected it from that little drop-down menu, and then I went to look up subjects, and it gave me I checked 2 boxes, and this is how it turned out in my search. So when I ran the search, I noticed that I was getting all kinds of articles about black colleges, and that wasn't really what I was looking for. So I went back and entered not college, and I didn't say I don't want the word college anywhere. I said anywhere except in the full text. So I don't want it in the heading, I don't want it in the title, I don't want it in the abstract, but if it shows up somewhere in my article, it might be relevant. And that really improved my search. Here's another one. And for this one, there was a big hot story on Canada and the Pope. And I didn't read the whole article, but I wanted to make sure that I eliminated those stories from my search, so I put in not Canada location. Another thing you can do is look under publication date. You can click on the publication date, and you can do this in Google too. It's a really handy tool. I like it a lot. I use it all the time. Oh, I heard this article in maybe it was last month, or maybe it was 3 months ago, or maybe it was this year. That's a useful tool. But if you click on that last one, specific date range, you'll see that you get a whole new set of choices below. So I tend to not use any day, any month, any day, any month. I just tend to put in years, but if you have specific date range within a year, then that's something you should use. And the final thing I wanted to share with you is that it's important to, if you're looking for a specific article type, you can do so with this document type. And I think that the most commonly searched for are opinion pieces, and you can really confine your search to commentary, editorial, and letter to the editor. So if you're doing research and you've got all this evidence that's leaning towards one side or delivering, it is your responsibility to go out and look for an alternate opinion or an alternate perspective, and this is a good way to do that. So that's all I have for you today. Good luck with your searching. Text the library if you have questions. Thanks.